My students are my accomplishment. They learn to love learning, they discover their passions, and they've become leaders, and they're going out and they're giving back to their community. I hope, or maybe I say I know, I've honored my parents, especially my mom, with my teaching. Good morning. I am a proud teacher. And I could qualify that by saying I'm a proud 5th grade teacher. I'm a proud teacher at Clint ISD. I'm a proud teacher to my daughter, but mostly I'm just a proud teacher. And it has been an awesome privilege to be able to stand up here and, have my colleagues and other people recognize me for the work that all of us do. So it's been a privilege. It has made me really rethink everything, what I do, how I do it. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about me. I am Anna Peden. I was born in a very small town in Iowa, about 3,000 people, including cows. My parents were Lee and Angie Beam, and I lived in the same house my entire life. I have 2 sisters, 1 brother. I'm married. I have a daughter. My parents, and especially my mom, had the most profound impact upon my career. My mom grew up in Kansas on a farm, no electricity. The heat source was the cast iron stove, and the restroom in the backyard had 2 holes. Got it? The outhouse. Now, when I was young and I'd go to visit, I thought this was a great, great, great adventure. Little thinking, my mom did this day in and day out. My grandparents, my mom's parents, had a 5th and an 8th grade education. And my mom was expected to be a farmer's wife, pretty much. However, she wanted to go to college. I was told that because she got uppity, that they were disowned by the rest of the family, because that's not what girls do. And it was debated, and then her dad said, my girls can do anything. And her mom said, my daughter can do anything, and she did go to college. She was on the dean's list. She sent money home to help the next 2 sisters go to school. And she graduated. And she is a teacher. In 1 generation, my mom changed the dynamics of my family from an elementary to show that it was possible to not only graduate from high school, but to graduate from college and to be successful. 2 of her 3 remaining sisters finished college. All of her children finished college. All of her nieces and nephews finished college. And I'm very sure that every single one of her grandchildren is going to finish college too. Can you imagine me telling my mom, that a class was too tough, or that, I didn't like the teacher? No way. There's no way. Also, being raised as a farmer, it gives you a work ethic, I think, like no other. Up early, there are so many things that you have to take care of. She passed that down to her children. So from 1st grade on, I had the paper route. I started waiting tables at 12. I think there's rules against that now. And I did field work. I was in cornfields. In the summer, you get up at 5 o'clock. Come home at 5 o'clock in the evening, and then I'm waiting tables at night. Why? So I could make money. Because when I was out there doing all those jobs, I had a lot of time to think, is this what I want for me? Now, I know it wasn't what my mother wanted for me, which is probably why she had me doing these things. But I had to find on my own, and I did, and I realized this was not the life for me, and I wanted a different life. In 4th grade, my mom tells me the story. I went home and told her, we have this student in my class, Mom, he needs help. His name was Steve. And his mama can't come, or she won't come. Or I don't know why she's not showing up, but he needs you, so you need to come help, because they're not listening to me. And so we did. We took care of that student. And I always thought that's what I want to be, is that hero, to these kids, to help these kids. During middle school, high school, I tried other classes because, let's face it, they paid better, engineering, math, all those things. But you know what? Teaching was my passion from 4th grade. I went home and told my mom, I'm going to teach. And I always came back to it, always came back to it, always came back to it. Because the reward you get might not be that $sign at the end, but it fills your heart. And that's what does it for me. That's who I am, and that's who I come from. But I wanted to talk also about my greatest achievement. I believe my greatest achievement are my students. And I think there are 5 things, 5 challenges that a teacher must overcome to be a really effective, fantastic, wonderful, great teacher. The first thing, you have to get those students to care. We keep hearing about this last year, I had a girl come up to me, Maggie, and she tells me after like the first 9 weeks, I guess, of me being in her ear, Miss Peden, can I talk to you? Sure, what's up? She says, Miss Peden, I'm going to make you a promise. I said, okay, what's this promise going to be? She said, I'm going to try. I'm going to try this year in school. I'm not going to get involved in all the drama, and I'm going to pass that rotten test, and I'm going to do it for you. And she says, I've never tried before, ever. And she says, but you make me want to try. So yeah, she did stay out of the drama. She did pass that STAR test for the first time. And I was like, this is awesome. The second thing as a teacher is identifying those problems or challenges that our students have, but helping them to fix it. And that's a student of mine, Jesse, like I had 25 years ago. I can't remember the years. And he struggled in reading. He hated it. He did not get it. It frustrated him. He was ready to quit. He's having nothing to do with it. And after 6 million interventions, I happened to pick up this little book, because, we keep educating ourselves. And it was on dyslexia, way before, we really even knew about it, right? And so, exhausted all those interventions, and I called the mom in. I'm like, Mom, this is what I want to do, because I'm not getting anywhere. And I'm so frustrated myself. And she turned around and she looked at me and thought, she's like, dyslexia? I don't even know what you're talking about, but I trust you because of what you've done for my child. So you do what you need to do. Yes, he was tested. Yes, he was dyslexic. And he went on to just do great things. I come walking in the basketball gym, husband's a coach, and I'm watching the game, and here comes this child, Miss Peden, Miss Peden. He's running up to me, and he's waving a book. I can read. And it's a Narnia book, the things that stick in your head. And I was just so impressed with him. And he told me, you know what, it's not easy. It's still not easy, but you never told me it was going to be easy. But I can do it, and I love reading. He says, you always told me you were going to make me love reading, and I didn't believe it. You got it done. The third thing as a teacher is you got to help your students believe they can do anything. And Ezekiel's my answer. His first words to me about reading were, I can't read. I've never passed, because I'm in 5th, never passed that STAR reading test. I'm never gonna pass it. So let's just quit. Get it over with. My response, I said, what? I said, did you not just pass the math test? That math test, what is that math test? That's reading. How many words are in that story problem? It's enough for a picture book. All reading all that math problem is a picture book without pictures. So if you can do that math, you can do this reading. And he looked at me, and I know I was stretching the truth there a little bit, but you got to get them going, right? So over the course of the year, I said that over and over and over. You can read, you will read. You will read for me. When the STAR test came along, I just went, and he looked at me. I can read, Miss Peden, I can read. He took that test, and yeah, for the first time, he passed it too. And he cried. And I thought, this is what I do. Last, as a teacher, I think we need to show our students how to be leaders. All these things come together, and that's what we want from these kids that come into our room. This year, I had my students create an ecosystem, and they had to present this to the class. So I'm down to my last student, and all of a sudden I look at him, and I'm like, oh no. It's like, this is not happening because I forgot he's my shy one. If you put him in front of somebody, he goes under the table and he cries, even as a 5th grader, and he doesn't care that it's embarrassing. He's like, I'm done. In the back of my head as teachers, I'm like, okay, how am I gonna fix this? I gotta do something right now. We can't let this go on. And before I could even say anything, up jumps Ignacio in my room. And Ignacio's like, Miss Peden, I got this. And so he goes and he says, can I do your presentation for you? And of course the boy's like, has tears go down his face, like, Andreas, come on. These 2 5th grade boys got up, got his project, which was beautiful, and they presented it to the whole class. And then when they're done, they come back and put it on my desk. And as they're walking by, they're like, see, now you have to give them the points for presenting because you never said who had to do it. And then they're laughing at me and they said, see, we can fix our own problems now. And I thought, my heart was overflowing. But you know what? I just stood like this. And I'm like, yep, you got it. You got the points. Because I wanted him and the rest of my students to think that's an everyday occurrence in my room. That's just the norm. I went home, told my husband the story, cried like a baby, right? But my kids think, this is just normal. And last, we have to show our teachers, guide our students to giving back to the community. And that's my Lizette, who's a teacher now in special ed. She was a great student, never struggled with her. Parents are always there. She went to college, but she would always come back to me, didn't know what she wanted to do. She took all these different classes. You know, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. She'd come back, oh, Ms. Peden, if you had that teacher, you'd know, well, I'm not gonna do that. And she said, you ruined me for everybody. You actually ruined me for everybody because I compared their teaching to yours in 5th grade. And she says, you were the candle and nobody's even coming close. So she finally comes back and says, you know what, Ms. Peden, I'm gonna teach. I'm gonna do what you did for me. I'm gonna have a classroom. I'm gonna teach those children to love reading, to love learning, and I'm going to do for you. I'm gonna do for them what you've done for me, so I'm passing you on. That's my accomplishment. My students are my accomplishment. They learn to love learning, they discover their passions, and they've become leaders, and they're going out and they're giving back to their community. I hope, or maybe I say I know, I've honored my parents, especially my mom, with my teaching. I know I honor myself because my heart just overflows and I go home that way going, another day done, right? And teaching fills me up. And I also hope, maybe I shouldn't say I hope, my goal every day when I walk in my room is that I honor my students by doing right by them and to help them, you know, they're the ones that make me look fantastic. Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And in my own way, I'm trying to change that world through my students and through educating them. Thank you.